School support is where it all started for us, and it's an area that provides an enormous amount of reward. The support we give to schools, whether that's through staff meetings, monitoring of English or planning support, is really, really rewarding and something we're very proud of, and it's a privilege to do it as well. Building those relationships with schools and providing them with support and nurturing them and guiding them on their journey to improvement is something that's really, really important and vital, and it's something that we deploy with a wealth of experience and understanding.
Our partnership with Literacy Company started back in 2014. We were a single school then, we were a maintained school. The school was very interesting. It was 3 forms of entry, growing a form of entry. I'd got quite a diverse staff in terms of experience. Some had got previous experience of the old literacy strategy, so I had an understanding of the development of writing, and other staff had come through varying routes of teaching. I think at that point we probably had 6 CCTs, or as they were then, NQTs, and the outcomes of the school were well below national. So we needed a progressive writing curriculum that was going to primarily support staff and develop staff pedagogy and knowledge and skills in the teaching of writing, and we knew that we needed to ensure that the writing across the curriculum was progressive and sequenced effectively so that the building blocks for children's writing were developed in the correct order. I think the thing that attracted us most to the Literacy Company Pathways to Write at that time was the high quality text. For us as a school, that was really important. We wanted children to be exposed to texts that were inspiring, that were diverse, that opened children into another world, that gave them thinking beyond their own life experiences. The school then became part of a multi-academy trust, and the other primaries joined the trust. There's 5 primary schools within the trust, and I think at that time all of the schools were using something slightly different for writing. As part of the trust development, we started to do writing moderation across the trust, and I think the key thing for us as a trust was that the alignment of the pathways to write across all the primary schools within the trust wasn't mandated from the trust. It's come from the schools, and all of the schools have now adopted the Pathways to Write as their writing curriculum, because that's come from bottom up. It's come from staff voice, it's come from staff working together on moderation, staff celebrating and sharing how supportive they've felt in developing their teaching skills in terms of teaching writing, and other head teachers then have approached the trust and said, are we able to start to work on the Pathways to Write as our writing curriculum?
Upscaling this support to support MATs and clusters takes the same skill set but just on a larger scale. We want to really establish that consistency in terms of aims and outcomes, but whilst also making sure that individual schools feel listened to. Having that collaborative approach and overarching aims for education is so important and vital, and so we need to make sure that the schools within our MATs build those strong relationships. That's really key. And we strive to make sure that that's cost effective for schools, because we know how tight budgets can be. We can also deliver centralised training around the whole of the English curriculum. So whether you're looking for something to do with poetry, Shakespeare, oracy, reading fluency, or supporting those struggling writers with their foundational skills, we're ready to support with that. Investing in CPD is vital. So we can create these bespoke training packages which will bring together educators and also make sure that there are really strong outcomes for pupils.
One of the key things from the training has been the sharing of best practice and the collaboration from colleagues. So we've got colleagues going into different schools where Pathways is at a different stage and working alongside teachers, and I think that's always beneficial to share best practice in that way. The key thing has been staff confidence, particularly around the modelling of writing and using effective modelling as part of the writing process to develop the skills, the drafting, the editing, the application of grammar. Staff are far more confident now from the training in delivering that in their classrooms and reflecting upon their practice in terms of how they are delivering writing and how they are ensuring that it is progressive and adapting their teaching from the assessment within lessons and in the moment learning to be able to adapt their teaching, that across the trust has really now started to impact.
So how can we provide this support? Well, the first thing that we can do really is help to build a strong English curriculum, whether that's through our resources in Pathways Literacy or making sure that there are shared, agreed assessment tools across a trust. Our relationship doesn't have to end there though, because we really want to make sure that we are focusing on monitoring and standards across a trust. And that's why so many of our mats and clusters really value our regular moderation sessions. And then we make sure that these are built upon with subject leader networks so that we can share those key messages and make sure that actions take place and those next steps are in there.
So the masterclasses arose as a consequence from the moderation sessions. So the moderation sessions were happening, elements of writing practice were being identified in those moderation sessions that needed improving either at a school level or at a trust level. So cohesion was a whole trust focus, and it was a little bit of the so what now, and we felt very strongly that subject leads have a mantle of responsibility, and we wanted to support English leads that where areas for development were identified from moderation, that we were skilling those subject leads with the knowledge to then go into their schools and be able to support their staff and their teams effectively to address some of those issues. The opportunity to just spend quality time immersed in their area of responsibility has been really valued by the staff, and I think it's one of the elements that attracts staff to the trust is the investment that we make in the professional development of our colleagues. I think the progression of texts, so they're making sure now at Key Stage 3 that children are receiving texts that are more challenging than text. I think they were shocked at the level of challenge in the text at the end of Key Stage 2 and just what children were able to process and comprehend in those texts and apply to their writing. So I think that's been a real key benefit, and I think the moderation element of the support we've received from the Pathways has really secured confidence at Key Stage 3 colleagues that they're very, very clear that when we're saying children are age related or greater depth, they really are, and they see the evidence because they're part of that process.
So many customers come back to us year on year, and they make booking in our support a real priority in their budgets. We can do this in person or online, it depends on where you are geographically, but the first thing to do is just get in touch with us. Then you can have that free consultation with one of our consultants, and we can get to know you and we can build that bespoke package for you and really understand your needs and your journey.